वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्फल सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु मे मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारकमद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुता दायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हानमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा रथकण्ठयोः स्फुर। श्रीमद्भागवत महापुराण की जय। Hare Krishna. So today we will begin with 11th chapter of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have seen chapter 10 in last few sessions, and today we wish to cover significant portion from chapter 11. And this chapter we will go, I mean it will go a bit faster because there are not very elaborate purports in this chapter, and there is more like description of Lord's reception in Dwaraka. So it's not a philosophical section or anything like that. So I think hopefully we should be able to move faster in this chapter. So whatever remains from this chapter today, we will try to cover this in the first session of next week and also begin chapter 12. Okay, fine. So this is chapter 11, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwaraka. So as Prabhupada said in the last chapter, we are satisfied that Lord Krishna has reached Dwaraka, and now his reception in Dwaraka begins. So this chapter, as I was saying, whenever the chapter begins, there is a karika that introduces the contents of the chapter to the readers. So the karika for this chapter from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, it reads, Ekadashe stutah Krishna anartai swapuram gatah bandhubhir militah kanta adhinotiti varnyate. What is varnyate? What is described in this chapter, the 11th chapter? Anartaihi stutah Krishna. Krishna's glorification by Dwarakavasis is first of all spoken in this chapter. So that is done in verse 1 to 10. Dwarkavasi's reception and glorification of Krishna. Swapuram gataha bandhubhir militaha. Then Lord Krishna enters into his palace, surrounded by his relatives. That is the next description. So that's the middle part of this chapter, from verse 11 onwards, almost till verse 23, is Lord's entering into the palace, surrounded by his relatives. And then there is Kanta Adhinoth, and then his wonderful dealings, controlled by the love of his wives. So that is spoken towards the end part of this chapter. So that is Krishna's beauty is described 24 verse onwards, and then also towards the last part of this chapter there is his dealings with his wives. So those are the three major sections: glorification of Krishna by Dwarkavasis, reception and glorification. Then Krishna's entering into his palace with surrounded by his relatives, and finally his dealing with his beloved wives. These are the three sections in the chapter, that is from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Karika. So this chapter has I think around 39 verses, and so we hope to finish as much as possible today. Let's see how far we can go. So this is text 1. Suta uvacha anartan sa upavrajya sfraddhanjana padan swakan dadmau daravaram tesham vishadam shamayanniva. Translation. Sud Goswami said, upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of the Anarthas, Dwaraka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. So, Sud Goswami continues describing about how Lord is received at Dwaraka. His departure from Hastinapur was spoken in the last verse, and we ended with Krishna reaching Dwaraka, province of Dwaraka, in the evening time. Sayam bheje paschad disham, that was the last verse saying. So Lord Krishna reached, and then how was he received in Dwaraka? That's what is being discussed in this chapter. So Sud Goswami says, Anartan sa upavrajya. That Lord, Sir, is referring to Supreme Lord. He went to the Dwaraka, Anartan upavrajya. And what was, how are they described? Those Dwarkavasis are Shraddhanjan Padan Swakan, it is said. So actually they are his own people, and the kingdom of Dwarka is most prosperous. Suridhan becomes Svradhan. Svradhan, most prosperous. Riddhi is for prosperity. So he finally reached that most prosperous land of Dwarka, also known as Anartha Nagari, Anartha. And they are all his own servants. They are all own beloved associates of the Lord. Swakan. So when Lord reached there, in order to tell about his arrival, of course the messages were already sent when Lord was on the way to Dwarka, that the Lord is coming. So Dwarkavasis knew that Lord is on the way to reach. So the messages were sent, but when is he going to reach exactly, in how much time? And obviously that there is no phone call or WhatsApp or anything like that. But the point is, the Dwarkavasis were expecting that Lord could come at any moment. So as Lord reached, so he blowed his wonderful conch shell, Panchajanya, Dadmau Daravaram. So the best of conch shells that is Panchajanya. He blew it. Dadmau, Tesham Vishadam Shamayanniva. And it is said that when he blew that conch shell, when he sounded that conch shell, it was literally like he was driving away, dispersing all their distress, sadness. It was like their dejection being dispersed away, or it was like their dejection being taken away. But the word used is eva. It was like that, it was like he was uh, pacifying the dejection, apparently pacifying the dejection. It was not exactly the thing. Uh, when they heard his conch shell, it is said it was like as if he was dispersing their distress. Why that word eva is used? Because actually the acharyas say that the uh, anxiety or the distress would be only dispersed when they actually see the Lord, the darshan of the Lord. They were so eager, they were so much in love with the Lord that although they have heard the counsel of the Lord, actually their vishad, their distress would only disappear when they actually see the Lord. So that's how the sounding of conch shell was like as if apparently driving away their grief. But the grief would be really driven away when they actually get the darshan of the Lord. So that's the point over here. So uh, if you see, here Vallabhacharya also mentions that Lord Krishna is Nityananda. Lord Krishna is also known as Paramananda. He's Satchidananda Ghana. He's the condensed form of bliss. So when Lord is entering at some place, how can anybody be miserable there? So in order to drive away the grief and make everything auspicious, in order to drive away all the misery, Lord makes everyone happy by blowing off its conch shell. So all the gloom was taken away by blowing off the conch shell, and then uh, that happiness arose in the heart of Dwarkavasis, and that's when Lord entered. So before Lord enters, the place actually becomes happy. That's how Vallabhacharya also comments on this particular verse. So Prabhupada in purport, he's also talking about these ideas. He says in purport, the beloved Lord was away from his own prosperous metropolis of Dwarka for a considerably long period because of the battle of Kurukshetra. And thus all the inhabitants were overcome with melancholia due to the separation. So Dwarkavasis were feeling a great separation. We talked about separation in the last chapter, that how devotees of the Lord, it's very difficult for them to tolerate the separation because they are experiencing the Lord's sweetness so much personal, So somebody hearing the Lord's glories also, it's difficult for such a person to give up Lord's devotees association. So what to speak of Lord's association, personal association. So they were feeling a great separation, and that's how when they heard conch shell, they were delighted by that. Prabhupada also refers to the idea that they were, they would actually be, their dejection would actually be dispersed when Lord will be seen by them. They will get the darshan of the Lord. He says that apparently the sound pacified their dejection. This is towards the end of the purport. They were still more aspirant to see the Lord amongst themselves, and all of them became alert to receive him in the prophetic manner. So that is referring to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of Eva. We see these are the signs of the spontaneous love of Godhead. So these were Dwarkavasis who were having that great love for the Supreme Lord, and that's how uh, they were feeling a great separation. And now that separation is coming to an end because Supreme Lord has appeared. He's come back after so many months spending at Kurukshetra. So about the effect of that and how that conch shell looked in Lord's hand, Very beautiful description of that is given in the second verse. Sa uchchakashe dhavalo daro daro api urukramasya shona shonima dadmayamana karakanja sampute yathabja khande kalahamsa utsvana. The white and fat bowel conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. So very beautiful explanation of Lord playing that conch shell. Sa uchchakashe dhavalo daro daro. That particular white conch shell of Lord. Dhavalo daro. That dara is the conch shell, had udara, that is the belly, which was spotlessly white. Dhavalo daro daro. There is beautiful sound in the verse. So big conch shell with a belly that was white, bright white, and so uchchakashe, it very much became brilliant. Uchchakashe means shobhate sma. It was looking so perfect. It was shining so perfect in Lord's hands. Api urukramasya adhara shona shonima. And although it was white, but what happened is, because Lord's lips were touching the conch shell, and Lord's lips are reddish. Adhara shona shonima, shonima, the redness of the Lord's lips. So because he was holding that conch shell and blowing it, so the redness of the lips of Lord's lotus lips, Lord's lips redness, that actually gave a very different picture. It gave an appearance. What was that appearance? That is spoken in the next line. Dadhmaya manah karakanja sampute yathabja khande kalahamsa utsvana. So when that particular conch shell was held like this by Lord, and he was playing, holding that conch shell in his hand, karakanja sampute, it was in the hands of the Supreme Lord. It looked like there was one Rajahams or Kalahams, there was a swan which was making sound in a mesh of Abjakhanda, in a mesh of many reddish lotuses. So the lotuses, the red lotuses, Rakta Kamala, they are compared to what? Actually, you see, Lord's hands are also compared to lotus, and Lord's lips are also compared to lotus, reddish lotus. So it was like actually in the stems of lotus flowers, in the multiplicity of lotus flowers, there was this Rajahamsa called Panchajanya, and it was making sound, Utsvanaha, loudly sounding. So very beautiful scene is visualized by Sud Goswami there, that it was like white swan playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. That is Lord's hands and the lotus lips. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when this conch shell was being played, actually Lord played it by all four hands. Okay, so in Dwarka, Lord manifests four hands actually, four-handed form, Vasudeva Krishna. So oftentimes Lord manifests that form in Dwarka. In Vrindavan, he never does that, or he does that only sometimes, very rarely, in terms of sometimes killing the demons or like that. Even that is also very rare in certain Puranas. It's sometimes described. But in Dwarka, he manifests his four-handed forms quite often. So here also, that four-handed form was manifested, and very beautiful lotus-like those four hands and his lips, and in that the swan of the Panchajanya was very nicely shining. That's all. That's what is the description. So Prabhupada gives very amazing purport. He says, the redness of the white conch shell, due to the lip touch of the Lord, is a symbol of spiritual significance. So we can also understand some spiritual significance from this. So what is that? The Lord is all spirit and matter is ignorance of the spiritual existence. Factually, there is nothing like matter in spiritual enlightenment. And this spiritual enlightenment takes place at once by the contact of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So very nice purport Prabhupada is writing. He's saying that just as this conch shell was thought to be like a white swan, so similarly, by the touch of Lord's lotus feet, or the touch of devotional service, anything actually is there that gains its value. It becomes spiritual, even though something is material. In connection with the Lord and in connection with his service, that thing becomes spiritual. So it's very important to understand this principle, because Prabhupada says, by ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, or in other words, by spiritual contact with the Lord, everything becomes spiritually reddened, like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. So this is the significance actually whenever something comes in touch with the Lord. Just as we see that even Dhruva Maharaj, when he achieved the darshan of the Lord, he wanted to offer the prayers to the Lord. But then Dhruva was not educated in Sanskrit grammar or vocabulary or philosophical ideas that they are presented in Vedic scriptures. So he was very much willing to offer the prayers, but he didn't know any of this. So how to offer the prayers? So then we know that at that time, seeing that desire of Dhruva, satam vivakshantam atad vidam harir, jnatvasya sarvasya charidhi avasthita, kritanjalim brahmamayena kambuna, pasparshabalam kripaya kapol. So seeing his desire to glorify, Dhruva's desire to glorify the Lord, vivakshantam, उनमें भगवान का गुणगान करने की विवक्षा थी, बोलने की. So इसको देखकर, although he was vivakshantam, he was atadvidam. He didn't know how to glorify the Lord. So what did Lord do? The most merciful Lord, kripaya, by his great mercy, brahmamayena kambuna pasparsha, he touched Dhruva on his forehead by the conch shell in Lord's hand. That conch shell is known as Brahmamaya. Actually, by touch of that conch shell, Brahmamaya, it's actually filled with all the knowledge of Vedic scriptures, conclusions of Vedic scriptures. So when Lord touched him, then we see that Dhruva was immediately electrified, empowered. And he prays also, Yo antah pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevatya. He says sanjeevayati. He says that actually what Lord has done is, he has revived my senses, which were like jal and jet. So as soon as that happened, we know how Dhruva Maharaj started glorifying Lord in such choice poetry, and such beautiful prayers came out. 12 verses, which are like, Srila Swami says they are like resplendent like Dwadasha Adityas, 12 Adityas, the most beautiful prayers. So this is actually the nature of coming in touch with Lord. We see that Krishna empowers. So we may be actually very weak, we may not be intelligent, we may not be experts, but if we have, as Prabhupada says, ardent love and devotional service, if we have a sincere desire to glorify the Lord, to serve him, to love him, then Krishna will surely empower. In the episode of Damodar Leela, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a very beautiful comment where he says that, we see that when Lord was pulling that wooden grinding mortar, so at one point it got stuck up in the Yamalarjun trees that were there in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And then Lord pulled that particular wooden grinding mortar. So actually, Yamalarjun trees were so large and so strong. So if Lord is pulling a feeble rope and a wooden grinding mortar under against such trees, what should happen ideally? Actually, what should happen is the rope should break, isn't it? You know, Lord is pulling it, and these trees are so strong, so the rope should break because rope was feeble. But we see that the Yamalarjun trees were uprooted. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that actually Lord empowered the rope, that delicate rope, I mean, delicate compared to Yamalarjun trees. So that particular rope, Lord empowered that feeble rope could also, uproot the trees like Yamalarjun. So point is, we may be very small, but then if Krishna desires to empower, then we can see that we will be also able to render great service in the service of the Lord. So that's very important thing, that we connect ourselves to the Lord. You know, we try to develop that ardent feeling of devotional service, and then in that manner we could also be empowered, although we are ourselves very insignificant for any service to the Lord. So in this way, and this is how Prabhupada says that the Paramhamsas, devotees are known as Paramhamsas. They are actually the ones who always delight uh, in the pure waters, where the flowers of Lord's lotus feet, the lotuses of Lord's lotus feet are growing. You know, as devotees, we want to aspire for the pure waters, jalashayas, where the lotus flowers of Lord's feet are there, and we don't want to go to the filthy water bodies where the other kinds of birds get attracted. So there is swan class, and then there is baka, or all other classes. But the devotees are known as not only hamsas but param hamsas, that they always prefer the waters where the lotuses of Lord's lotus feet grow. So that's the point of this particular purport, which Prabhupada writes. Text 3. तमोपश्रुत्य निनदं जगद्भयावहं प्रत्युद्ययुः प्रजा सर्वा भर्तृदर्शनलालसाः. The citizens of Dwarka, having heard that sound, which threatens fear personified in the material world, began to run towards him fast, just to have a long desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector of all devotees. So when the Dwarkavasis heard this conch shell sound, tam upashrutya ninadam, hearing that sound, ninadam upashrutya. And how was that conch shell sound? Jagat bhaya bhayavaham. So there is the fear of material existence prevalent in the material world. But this conch shell sound, it was driving away all that fear. Jagat bhaya bhayavaha, that which is fearful to the fear of material existence. Lord is actually feared by even the fear personified. Apanna samsritim ghoram jannama vivasho granan tatah sadyo vimuccheta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. So Lord's conch shell, we see that the sound is called as Jagat Bhaya Bhayavaham. It destroys the fear of material existence. So as soon as the Dwarkavasis heard this sound, Pratyudyayuhu Praja Sarva, they got up from their places and they started running. They started running in the direction where the conch shell sound came from. Why? Bhartri Darshana Lalasa. Because they were actually, there was such a great lalasa. They were so greedy, so desirous of, seeing their Supreme Lord, their Bharta, their master. So they so much wanted, coveting for darshan of the Lord. They had such an intense desire that they started running Pratyudyayu Praja Sarva outside, towards the direction in which Lord was coming. So this was the effect that the council did. So much so that that running was literally, Vallabhacharya says there was aham hamika to reach the Lord. Aham hamika means there was a competition who reaches the Lord first, who runs. And so fast they were running that who sees the Lord first, who reaches the Lord first. Of course, this aham hamika, this competition is in the healthy sense that they want to inspire each other. We see that this mood is also there in Gopas when they are playing with Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is at a distance. The Gopas, they run towards the Lord, and they run so fast in order to inspire other person to run fast. But acharyas say that each one of the Gopas feel that he doesn't come the first. He remains the last, and the other person may he reach and touch Krishna first. So that's the mood actually in which Gopas want to run towards the Lord. So similarly, I mean, here also we see that they want to reach to the Lord and inspire others to reach even before them. So we see that even this is the mode in which we are also inspired to render services in Lord service, that we want to do something so best and still come the last, hoping that everybody else comes the first. Of course, very easy to speak these things, but we know that in practical times, it's just the desire of conditioned souls to always be number one, So, but that's the aspiration. That's the aspiration, that we want to always inspire others to perform better in Lord service, and that's how here also it's mentioned like that. Prabhupada, in purport, he compares the Dwarka residents to Vrindavan residents. He says gopis of Vrindavan, also how they were always immersed in thought of Krishna because Lord Krishna left them. So similarly, these Dwarkavasis also were always immersed in thoughts of Krishna because he left them and went to Kurukshetra and was staying there for a long, went to Hastinapur because before the battle of Kurukshetra, and was staying there for a long time. So they were so eager, like Vrajvasis, for getting the darshan of the Lord and having him back with them. Prabhupada also mentions there is a fiction writer in Bengal who said that Krishna of Vrindavan, Krishna of Mathura, and Krishna of Dwarka were different personalities. And this is the famous, the writer of Vande Mataram. And this person, he wrote a book on Krishna called Krishna Charita. And that's where he speaks about this idea of these three different Krishnas. And he surprisingly was, he felt a desire to get the book edited by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was a friend of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he gave this Krishna Charit. He was a poet and great, very well-known Sanskrit poet. So he gave the book to Bhaktivinoda Thakur to edit because he accepted Bhaktivinoda as a very exalted devotee of Lord and very learned in the Siddhanta. So you can imagine what Bhaktivinoda Thakur must have done with his book. So he thoroughly edited the book and gave him back, and he was completely humbled, actually, the author of the book. So, of course, but he had a great regard for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and so he accepted those ideas which were corrected, and that's how that book was later published. So, sometimes to understand how Vrindavan Krishna is doing his pastimes and what is the philosophy behind that pastime, and Dwarka's pastimes, and then Kurukshetra's pastimes, people have difficulty in understanding, but we do understand that he is the same person. We know that there is feature of Vasudev Krishna and Nandanandan Krishna, but as far as the person is concerned, he is the same person. isn't it? But these people who are fiction writers and all, they don't understand these things. They feel like the man who has performed pastimes like Ras Leela, or for that matter, marrying 16,108 wives, he seems to be a different person. And the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, which everybody accepts as the most enlightened being, they are okay with him, but they are not okay with these pastimes of the Lord. So Prabhupada used to call this as Ardha Kukutnyaya. You just want to accept that part which of the hen which gives the eggs, but not the part which feeds. So that a farmer was like that. So similarly, how can we accept just one aspect of Krishna's pastimes, but reject the other, or say that the other is somebody else has done those activities, or they are interpolations? No, you have to accept the scriptures in toto, Prabhupada would say. If you accept one side, the same scripture is also talking about his other side, about his Ras Leela and all the pastime. So how can somebody say no to that? That is really Ardha Kukut Nyaya. Also, Prabhupada talks about, in second paragraph, about citizens of Dwarka feeling melancholy because of Lord's absence. And he compares these people as, this absence as being in darkness. Sun is not there. So just as darkness brings in gloom and sadness, and we see that the morning is Suprabhatam, morning brings up a new life and freshness in people's mind. So that's how coming of the Lord after he had stayed for so many years at Hastinapur, so many months at Hastinapur. So it brought a great joy to the hearts of Dwarkavasis. Finally, Prabhupada also makes a brilliant point in terms of, he says that sounding of this conch shell or sounding of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, they have the same absolute nature. Actually, if you, Prabhupada says this, that out of the 4 problems of material existence, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam cha, the bhaya is the most terrific problem. Actually, if you see ahara, nidra and bhaya and maithuna, these are considered 4 activities. And sometimes Prabhupada says also as problems of material existence. Problems in the sense because you have to work to fulfill these needs. So out of these 4 things, ahar, nidra, bhaya and maithuna, you see, actually it all, Prabhupada says at one place that it all boils down to fear. Why one wants to do ahar, why one wants to eat? Because he has the fear that if he doesn't eat, he will die. Why one wants to sleep? Because one has the fear that if he doesn't sleep, then he will die. Similarly, for the pleasures of the opposite sex, why one has that particular desire? Because there is this fear that that's the only pleasure in the life, and if I don't get that, then what do I have in the life? So in all 4 aspects, bhaya is the most prominent thing. It's actually bhaya. The other 3 are corollaries, but bhaya is the most intense experience of the material world. That's why Prabhupada says in this purport, out of the 4 problems of material existence, food, shelter, mating problem, the fear is the most troublesome. And the sound of the conch shell or the sound of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, this sound destroys that fear. And that's why we are supposed to be in touch with the sound vibration. Etan nirvidyamananam ichchadam akuto bhayam yoginam nirpanirnitam harer namanukirtanam. So if we remain in touch with the sound vibration, then we see that we will be able to actually overcome the fear of material existence. So especially if we are fearful in our lives, for any case, so many different kinds of problems in the life. So actually, we should go back and check how much we are connected to the sound vibration, chanting holy names, hearing Krishna Katha, hearing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It is very likely that we are not very well connected to the sound vibration, and that's how the situations are overwhelming. But as soon as we again come back in touch with the sound vibration, Krishna Katha, then we see that we are actually able to again feel the great shelter and feel the great relief in our life. Feel that shelter of Krishna. As we know that, bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatah syat. What is bhayam actually? Dvitiya abhiniveshatah. When we forget Krishna and our abhinivesh absorption happens in something dvitiya, in something secondary, not Krishna. So that's when the fear, that's what is called as fear. That's what generates fear. So, but once we take shelter of Krishna, Abhaya Charana Aravinda, then we are able to see that we are again able to overcome that fear. So Prabhupada connects to Hare Krishna Mahamantra in that manner. Next. Tatropanita balayoh, Raver Vivadritaha, Atma Ramam Purna Kamam, Nijalabhena Nityada, Prityutfulla Mukha Prochur, Harsha Gadgadaya Gira, Pitaram Sarvasuridham, Avitaramivarbhaka. The citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, offering them to the fully satisfied and self-sufficient one, who by his own potency incessantly supplies others. These presentations were like the offering of a lamp to the sun. Yet the citizens began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as wards welcome their guardian and father. So when they ran towards the Lord, along with them they took, great presentations for the Lord. Balayaha, Tatra Upanita Balayaha. So they began, they brought beautiful presentations for the Lord to welcome him. But these presentations are said by Sutta Goswami to be Raver Deepam Iva Adrita, Ravehe Deepam Iva Adrita. So it was like showing lamps to Ravi, showing lamp, a deeper to sun. Showing a lamp to the sun, who is the source of all light. What's the point? Sometimes in the worship of the sun, we see that deepa is offered, but sun is the source of all light. So what is the point of offering that deep to the sun? He only has, given all the light, or he's only the source of all light. So similarly, to offer some presentations to the Supreme Lord, who is Atma Ramam Purna Kamam Nijalabhena Nityada. This is the next line of the verse. So they were offering some presentations to one who is Atma Ram. He is self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything. Purna Kam. All his desires are already fulfilled. They are constantly being fulfilled, to the greater and greater extent. So such Atma Ram or Purna Kama, who is Nijalabhena Nityada, Nijalabhena Purna Kamam, So because of his own potencies, Lord doesn't need anything. He is always self-satisfied, and all his desires are fulfilled by his Swarup Shakti all the time. So to offer something to such a Lord is compared to offering a ghee lamp to sun, like that. Prityutfulla Mukha Prochu. So still when they were offering this, it was with love. Priti Utfulla Mukha. So with love, their faces were beaming, faces were dazzling with great love for the Lord, and with Harsha Gadgadaya Gira, and with a voice that was choked with happiness that Lord is back. So they spoke these words to the Lord, that Lord who is called as Pitaram Sarvasuridham Avitaram Nivarabhaka. He is called as the friend of all, he is the master of all, the father of all. So just as Arbhakas, the children wards, they speak to their guardian, they speak to their master, they speak to their father. Similarly, all this praja, literally in that sense of praja, they started speaking these words to Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada talks about how Lord doesn't need anything from anyone. He's referring to the words Atma Rama and Nijalabhena Purna Kamam. So he doesn't need anything from anyone, but still something is offered with love and devotion, he accepts it. That's his nature. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadham bhaktyupratam ashnami prayatatmana. So somebody offers him with love, he is very happy to accept it. Just like a loving father is ready to accept something given by his child. And the child has, whatever he has got is given by father only, but still he wants to offer it with love. And the father accepts it very happily. So similarly, Lord was also accepting everything that was offered to him with love, like that. So that comparison of Draver Deepam Eva, that is spoken by Prabhupada also. So this is the point. One should know that everything is offered by the Lord. So that's how a devotee always wants to be humble, no matter what success he gets in his spiritual life, the services, because we see that Krishna cannot tolerate the pride in the heart of a devotee. That is one thing he just cannot tolerate, because everything is given by the Lord. All the resources are given by him, starting from our intelligence, our body, the energy, to work in that body. Everything is given by Supreme Lord. All the resources are given by him. So that's how how can one become proud of his accomplishment like that? Only desire is our resource. Only that desire is something which we can say that it's our resource. But what to speak of the desires? I mean, especially coming to spiritual life, how many of us, there may be some great souls, but for most of us, even the desire was not there, isn't it? Even the desire to serve the Lord or, do something wonderful in Lord's service was not there. And we see that desire also, sangat sanjayate kama, that desire, you apply this in spiritual sense, that also comes by sangha, it comes by devotees association. Sangat sanjayate kama. Prabhupada uses in that sense also this phrase from Bhagavad Gita, that actually the desires, spiritual desires also spring by spiritual association. So can we be even proud of that desire to serve? Because if we were not in association, we don't know what kind of desires would be there. So even that resource finally is inspired by devotee association. So that's how we understand that everything is actually provided by the Lord. Finally, Prabhupada also says that the Lord is just like a desired tree, and from him everyone can have everything by the causeless mercy. But he says, the Lord, however, does not supply to a pure devotee what is considered to be a barrier to the discharge of devotional service. So Lord is often compared to desire tree, but then desire tree means we should also know what to desire from a desire tree. Kalpa Vriksha can offer everything, but we must know what to go and beg Kalpa Vriksha. For this reason only, in his commentary to Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshosti Na Priyaha, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he differs from Sridhar Swami in the explanation of this verse. What Sridhar Swami does is Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu, he says that how Lord is like a Kalpa Vriksha, he is like a Kalpataru. So that's the explanation actually coming from Sridhar Swami's commentary, that how Lord is like a Kalpataru. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that actually more than Kalpataru, Lord is actually a desire tree may not become attached to someone who comes to him. He just offers him whatever he gives, whatever he wants. But actually, Lord becomes attached to somebody who comes to him. He is so grateful to somebody who is coming to him. That's why he calls even people who are artha, artharthi, jidnasu, jnani as udara sarva evaite. He says they're udar. They're so magnanimous. What is the magnanimity? They are coming and begging the Lord. What is their magnanimity? No, that's the nature of the Lord. He feels they're coming to me. Out of the whole world, they are coming to me. So this is not how a Kalpavriksha feels. I mean, this is much more than a Kalpavriksha. Kalpavriksha may just fulfill the desires, but Krishna becomes grateful to somebody who comes to him. And he also worries about the obstacles and the enemies of such a person who has come to his lotus feet and wants to take care of him fully. Not only this, but he also inspires that person to ask from him, desire from him the right thing. So this is how Lord is much more than a desire tree. That's the explanation of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So what do these devotees pray is now spoken in verse up to verse 10 and Dwarkavasi's prayers. As we know, Stuti, the first part of this chapter, reception and Stuti. So now Stuti is beginning. So I will stop at verse 10 and then we can have questions. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these verses I will take. Nata smatena sadangri pankajam virincha vairincha surendra vanditam parayanam chemamihe chatam param na yatra kala prabhavet para prabhu. The citizen said, O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the 4 sanas, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the supreme transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you. So they begin talking to the Lord by offering their obeisances. Natha smate natha sadangri pankajam. Hey Lord, hey Natha, O Master, we always offer our obeisances at your lotus feet. We bow down at your lotus feet. Sadangri pankajam. Angri pankajam, your lotus feet. What are they? Virincha Vairincha Surendra Vanditam. These lotus feet are worshipped by Virincha, Brahma, Vairincha, the sons of Brahma, like 4 Kumaras, Surendra, even Indra. So such exalted personalities, they are worshipping these lotus feet always. Parayanam Kshemam Ihet Chatam Param. And in this world, Iha, if somebody is desiring the ultimate benefit, Param Kshemam Ichchatam, if somebody wants his ultimate benefit, Param Kshemam, you are Parayanam. You are the shelter of such a person who wants the ultimate benefit in the life. These lotus feet, they are the ultimate shelter of somebody who wants the ultimate benefit of life. Nayatra Kala Prabhavet Parah Prabhu. Because these lotus feet are beyond the influence of the Kala, which is the master of everybody in this world. Paresham Prabhu. That Kala which even controls Brahmaji and controls all other demigods. That Kala doesn't have any influence over your lotus feet. He is a servant of your lotus feet. So we worship your lotus feet, which are having all these qualities, they say. So in this fashion, they are bowing down at the Lord's lotus feet, saying that these lotus feet are the Paramashrayam, and we are so happy that actually we are able to bow down again at these lotus feet, which were away from us for so much of time, they are saying. So Prabhupada also talks about this in purport. He says that the influence of time and space is exerted upon dependent living entities. This is third line, but not on the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is predominating absolute, while the living entities are predominated Brahman. So these words are from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He uses these words of predominated and predominating. So Prabhupada is using that in the sense of no influence of time and space. So meaning to say that the process of devotional service or the topics of Lord, they are all beyond time. That there is no influence of time in this. Whatever bhakti we do, whatever activities of devotional service, they are actually beyond time. They remain in our eternal account, and we see that that's how they offer the ultimate benefit, the eternal benefit, like that. So that's the point here. So anybody who has a clear consciousness, he understands actually Tattva very clearly. Prabhupada says the clear consciousness of the cognizant living being is God consciousness, in which one bows down to him in all circumstances. There is just no choice but to bow down if one understands, the position of the Supreme Lord, actually. And I mean, no choice in the sense of it's a loving choice that a devotee makes, not that it's a forcible choice. But Lord is so exalted that actually one just bows down at his feet all the time. Text 7. Bhavaya nastvam bhava vishva bhavana tvameva matatha surutpati pita tvam sadgururna paramancha daivatam yasyanu kratino babhuvima. O Creator of the universe, you are our Mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual master, and worshipable deity. By following in your footsteps, we have become successful in every respect. We pray, therefore, that you continue to bless us with your mercy. Bhavaya nastvam bhava vishvabhavan. Hey Vishwabhavan, O Lord, who protects, maintains the whole world. Naha bhavaya tvam bhava. You also please become our deliverer. You please also bestow upon us the ultimate welfare. So bhavaya here means for welfare, and bhava means you please become. So those are different meanings in the same line. So you please be the benefactor of ultimate benefit for all of us, because you are our Mata, you are our Surit, you are our Pati, you are our Pita, you are our Sadguru, you are our Param Daivata. And by following your footsteps, by following your instructions, Yasyanu Vritya Kritino Babhuvima, we will become, we have become, and we will always become all successful. So that you are our actually everything. Tvameva Mata Pita Chatvameva. Just as it is spread also. So they are saying to the Lord that you please bestow upon us the ultimate benediction of your darshan. Bhavaya here, hamare kalyan को प्रदान करने वाले बन जाइए. नह भवाय त्वम भव, ये जो बोला जा रहा है, that is Jiva Goswami says this bhavaya is not for some mundane benefit, welfare is not some mundane, but it is santat nija darshana samriddhaye. Santat nija darshana samriddhaye. What is that bhava? That is the bhava that you please give us the prosperity of being constantly able to behold you. They are saying that please be with us always. Please be with us. Let us not leave you for a moment, and let us not miss to get your darshan for a moment, because you are our all in all. They are saying that. So Srila Prabhupada in purport, he talks about how Supreme Lord is actually, by following him, one will become all successful in his all spheres of life. So actually, it's just a translation of one word from the verse. When he says that Jivas become successful in all spheres of life by following Lord's good advice, it's talking about Yasyanu Vritya Kritino Babhuvim. Then he says there is no need to worship any deity but the Lord, that is Paramam Chadaivatam. And he says that he is satisfied by our obedience. He is competent to bestow upon all kinds of blessings. So, that is again referring to Bhavaya, and also referring to his role as Pati or Pita or Mata, who typically provide all the necessities of lives. And also towards the end, he says, it may be forgotten for the time being, but it can be revived also by the grace of the Lord. Our relationship with the Lord can be forgotten, may be forgotten, but it can be revived if we follow his injunctions, which are revealed in scriptures of all times and all places. So, following Yasyanu Vritya, so by following Lord's instructions, one actually will be able to revive the relationship with the Lord. So, this is very important. What is happening in verse 6 is they are just talking about offering the obeisances, but offering obeisances is just a primary thing, right? Some people just come and offer obeisances to Supreme Lord and go. That's their coming to temple. But actually, if we want to please the Lord, if we want to be successful, just offering obeisances is okay, but we should also follow the instructions of the Lord, isn't it? So that is spoken in this verse. This verse is talking about following the instructions of the Lord in terms of the scriptures, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So by putting ourselves into the discipline of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, by following bona fide representatives and the instructions of Shastra, one will actually be able to make his life successful. That's what is said. Otherwise, the idea that, just offering obeisances and I mean, even that is glorious at one point, but then a serious devotee also wants to lead his life as per the instructions of Lord's devotees, right? Suppose there is somebody to whom you say, please, can you get a glass of water for me? And then he offers you obeisances and just stands there smiling at you. No, okay, fine, you offered obeisances, but get me a glass of water. And he again offers obeisances and smiles at you. How will you feel? Come on, please get a glass of water. So you just don't stand there and continue to offer obeisances if he is asking for a glass of water. So similarly, it is said that when Lord wants something, when we offer obeisances, he wants us to follow his instructions and instructions of his devotees. So that's the actual way of pleasing the Lord. So they are talking about this particular thing. Next verse. Aho sanatha bhavatasma yadvayam traivishtapanam api duradarshanam prema smita snigdha nirekshananam pashyema rupam tava sarva saubhagam. Oh, it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence. For your Lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances. We can now see your transcendental form full of all auspiciousness. Aho sanatha bhavatasma yadvayam. Vayam bhavata sanathasma. Today we have again become with Master Sanatha. We have become possessed by Master again today because of you. You have come back, and now we find that we are having our Master. We are again under the protection of Master. Travishtapanam api dura darshanam. Because actually the shelter of yours or the darshan of yours, it's so difficult even for demigods. Trivishtapa is referring to demigods. So Traivishtapanam, those who reside in the heavenly planets, demigods, for them also, Dura Darshanam, Lord is not uh, very easily seen by even demigods. Even demigods can't see the Lord. Actually, his darshan is so rare, right? As we know, Prabhupada speaks also this in purport that even the demigods and Brahmajis go to the milk ocean and they can only pray, glorify the Lord by Purush Sukta and all such prayers, and they can't even see him. You know? So Brahmaji hears the voice and then he transmits that message to demigods. So even demigods, they can't see the transcendental form of the Lord that easily unless until he manifests as in Leela, or he takes some incarnation in heavenly planets or like that. So Traivishtapanam api Dura Darshanam. This is a sight which is rare even for them. But this sight of yours, this darshan of yours, which is prema smita snigdha nirikshananam, which is filled with smiling glances and great affection, and such beautiful face you are having, and you are bestowing smile and smiling glance and affection through your beautiful glances on us. So we are able to behold this form constantly. This is our great fortune. Pashyema rupam tava saropa saubhagam. We are able to see this great form of yours, which is the source of all auspiciousness, full of all auspiciousness. So they are glorifying, or they are expressing their great fortune, even greater than the demigods, that they are able to constantly behold this form of Lord being in Dwarka, that form which is so rare. Only pure devotees actually can see this form like that. So that is their expression like that. So really by Lord's darshan and shelter only we become sanatha. Actually, otherwise we are anatha, we are orphans, So that is how this verse is talking about kritarthatvam, that the demigod, the Dwarkavasis are feeling kritartha by the darshan of the Lord. They are feeling blessed by the darshan of the Lord. Bhavantam evanucharam nirantara prashanta nishesha manorathantara kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara nitya kinkara praharsharishyami sanatha jivita. Even Yamunacharya praised this in his Stotra Ratna, that actually he says, when will I be most happy to consider myself to be a sanatha, to consider myself to be a nitya kinkar of the Supreme Lord, because only in that state one will be prashanta nishesha manorathantara, accepting your lotus feet, one can become actually most peaceful, with all his mental anxieties gone. That Lord is my master, sanatha jivitam. So that is a devotee's mode, that he considers himself as a child of the Lord, as a servant of the Lord. In fact, even Uddhava in 11th canto, he speaks about how Lord is the most perfect master. He gives 5 qualities of Lord as a perfect master. Tasmad bhavantamanavadyamanantaparam sarvadnamishwaram akuntha vikuntha dhishnyam nirvinnadhiraham utheha vrijnabhitapto narayanam narasakham sharanam prapadye. So he tells how Lord is the most perfect master, because he is bedecked with such wonderful qualities. He is a master who never fails to recognize his servants, joys and sorrows. He is a master who can bless unlimitedly. He is a master who knows everything. He is a master who can continue to bless that servant even after his death. And he is the one who can take us to the highest abode, Akuntha Vaikuntha Dishnya. So who in this world will go for any other master? That's what Uddhava says. So Srila Prabhupada talks about Dura Darshanam, in his purport, the Lord in his eternal personal form can be seen only by pure devotees. So we know that Lord can be only seen by pure devotees. And that's how he is very rare to be seen even by the demigods. Nobody can see him like that. Actually, only pure devotees can see. Neither Brahmaji nor even the demigods nor Indra, they all have to go to Shvetadweep and on the bank of Milk Ocean, they have to just pray. So we discussed about this. But here the devotees are praying to the Lord like this because they're able to see him face to face. Of course, the point is when Lord comes in his form as incarnation, when he does Leela, then everybody can see him naturally. So they're talking in terms of a general criterion to see the Lord is actually pure devotee, pure devotional service. But when Lord comes in his Leela, he manifests himself in Prakat Leela, then anyone can see the Lord. Of course, anyone can see, but anyone cannot recognize the Lord. You have to have devotion to recognize the Lord. Otherwise, even Duryodhan sees the Lord. But if you say seeing that form, yes, that is available even to a non-devotee or even to a mixed devotee when Lord comes in his Leela and manifests it as Prakat Leela. He comes as an avatar. So that's an exceptional case where anyone can see the Lord. But otherwise, it's a prerogative of only pure devotees. Fine, two more verses. Yarhyambujaksha pasasara bho bhavan kurun madhun vatha sudridridikshaya tatrabda koti pratimakshano bhaved ravim vinaksho rivanastabhachuta. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like a million years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless as if bereft of sun. Okay, so this is one of the famous references which talks about how Lord used to, or rather, he visited Vrindavan after he left Vrindavan at the age of 10 years. He, after he shifted to Dwarka, he did visit Vrindavan. So Acharyas explained that this is one of the verses that is confirming this. Because you see, what are they saying? They are saying, Hey Ambujaksha, Yarhi, meaning Yada Yada, whenever, at all those times, when you apasasara bho bhavan, when you leave us, when you go away, leaving us, where do you go away? Kurun madhun vatha sudridrikshaya. So when you go to meet Kurus or when you go to meet Madhus, that is the Mathura Vasis, or Kurus means Hastinapur Vasis, to see your relatives, your friends, when you leave us and you go to these places, Hastinapur as well as Madhupuri. So what does this Madhun mean here? Acharyas say that already all the residents of Mathura have been taken to Dwaraka, isn't it? That famous word is there, verse is there, right? Where it is talked about how Tatra Yoga Prabhavena Nitva Sarvajanam Harihi. Lord, when he creates Dwaraka, he Nitva Sarvajanam. He took all Sarvajanas, all the residents of Mathura were shifted to Dwaraka overnight. So if all the residents of Mathura were shifted to Dwarka, when these Dwarkavasis are saying, you go to Hastinapur to meet your relatives and you go to Mathura Mandal to Madhun is Mathura Mandal to meet your devotees, what does that mean? Because at this point of time, his relatives are only there in Vrindavan. They are there in Hastinapur and they are in Mathura Mandal, they are there in Vrindavan. So that's why this verse means whenever you go to Vrindavan. So this proves, Vishwanath Chakravarti as well as Jiva Goswami says, that this verse proves that actually Lord, had been to Vrindavan. And that's how Hastinapur residents are saying, Dwarka residents are saying like this, that whenever you go to Vrindavan or Hastinapur, what happens to us? Tatrabda koti pratima kshano bhaved. That time one kshana, it appears like, crores of years. It appears like crores of years for us. It is so difficult that your separation makes us feel like one moment is like 1 crore years. The time, one moment becomes so difficult to pass. Ravim vinakshno rivanastavachyuta. Just as there are eyes without the sun, if there is no sun, what is the use of the eyes? Similarly, our situation becomes, hey Achyuta, we know that sun, Ravi, is the Adhisthata, is the presiding demigod of the eyes. So actually eyes function only because of Ravi, because of Surya. If there is no Surya, even if eyes are there, that particular limb is there called eye, so that eye will not help at all, because the presiding deity, that is the Surya, that is not functioning. So that's what they mean by this, that if there is no Supreme Lord, then we feel like we are practically, like lifeless or useless, corpses in this manner. And one moment looks like 1 crore of year, 1,000,000 years, Prabhupada says. So this is the point in this verse. In the commentary to this, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also quotes other references to prove the point of Krishna did come back to Vraja after he had left in his childhood. And he quotes verses like Aya se Jyotyake iti from 39th chapter of 10th canto, and also verses like Jnatin Drashtum Mechama, from 45th chapter of 10th canto of Nanda Maharaj. He speaks to Nanda Maharaj that I will come back, and it's also mentioned in Padma Puran and other Puranas. And he says, as far as Srimad Bhagavatam is concerned, apart from the 10th canto, you can also see it here in this particular verse, like that. Prabhupada speaks about how our senses are most imperfect, referring to that Ravim Vinakshno Riva, that senses can work only when God allows them, Supreme Lord allows them to work. They can work only under certain conditions. I mean, demigods are the presiding deities working under Supreme Lord's supervision. So only when these demigods, these presiding deities are there, our senses can function. So same way, Prabhupada says, this is fourth line, third line. Lord Sri Krishna, being the primeval Lord, the supreme truth, is compared to the sun. Without him, all our knowledge is either false or partial. So just as even though there are eyes, but if there is no sun, there is no Adhisthata sun, we can't see anything and we can't perceive anything. All our knowledge would be actually false. It will be incorrect or it will be incomplete. Like, those 6 blind men and elephant story from the fundamental device sessions that we take. So their knowledge was either false, incorrect, or it was incomplete. So similar way here also, if Krishna is not in the perspective, then our knowledge becomes either false or partial, Prabhupada says. So only by putting Krishna in the life and understanding everything from Krishna's perspective, we will be able to understand the workings of this world and his energies, like that. Otherwise, if we don't have Krishna conscious perspective, then we have so many different ideas about the world and what this world is meant for, and what is the goal of life and the goal, the purpose of this universe. And we see people, that's why there are so many philosophers and so many ideas coming out of fertile brains of people, because Krishna is not there in their perspective. So all their ideas become very incorrect or insufficient, incomplete, in this manner. So although they may pass like big religious teachers and gurus or sadgurus or whatever it is, but then what they speak is just way away from the reality. So this is how proper perspective can be achieved only when we have Krishna in our perspective. Fine, so this is text 10. Katham vayam nath chiroshite tvayi prasanna drishtyakhilatapašošanam jiye mate sundaraha sashobhitam apashyamana vadanam manoharam iti chodirita vacha prajanam bhakta vatsala shanvanonugraham drishtya vitanvan pravishatpuram. Oh Master, if you live abroad all the time, then we cannot look at your attractive face, whose smiles vanquish all our sufferings. How can we exist without your presence? Upon hearing their speeches, the Lord, who is very kind to the citizens and the devotees, entered the city of Dwarka and acknowledged all their greetings by casting his transcendental glance over them. So this is the last verse which they speak. Katham vayam natha chiroshite tvai. Oh Lord, if you remain chiroshita, chiroshita is proper translates as you live abroad all the time. Very interesting translation. If you live abroad all the time. So they're saying if you stay outside all the time, then katham vayam jivema. How will we live? Because we will not get to see your prasanya dishtrya khilatapada shoshanam. We will not get the glance of yours, that pleasant glance which drives away all the grief. Sundarahasa shobhitam, and your beautiful face which has that beautiful smile. So apashyamana, not being able to see that, how we will live, O Lord, vayam katham jivema. If we don't get to see that manoharam vadanam, that beautiful face of yours, which drives away all the grief, and it's the most beautiful smiling face, how we will live, O Lord, they are saying. So you please be with us and please allow us to serve you. That's what they are saying. This particular part of the verse, that is Katham Vayam Natha Chiroshite, this is not found in the editions of Sridhar Swami, these words. So this is why it is not commented by Jeev Goswami or Vishwant Chakravarti Thakur or any of the other acharyas. But this verse is found in some editions, so that's how Prabhupada has included. And there is surely one acharya called Shukdev Maharaj. He has also commented on this verse. So sometimes the verses are like that, where there is some partha bhed. Some verses are found or some verses are not found in the editions because of various reasons, like who are the scribes. They have written the verses generation after generation. So sometimes we see such a thing. But then with Bhagavatam, it's very minimal. That's not the case with Bhagavatam. In Mahabharata, it's a lot. But Mahabharata, the Bhagavatam, there's a very clear idea about which verse is there, which is not there. If it's there, where is it coming from, in that way. Because Sridhar Swami has done that task of putting Bhagavatam's 18,000 verses straight, very precisely on the paper. So in this manner, hearing these words of the Lord, the Bhakta Vatsala Lord, the Lord who is most affectionate to his servants, Shtanvanaha, hearing this, he bestowed his merciful glance on all of them, Drishtya Anugraham Vitanman, by manifesting his grace through his glance. He entered the Dwarkapuri. He entered the residence, the Dwarkapuri. So now description of Dwarkapuri will begin, but I'll take some questions before that. In purport, Prabhupada just talks about again the point of the separation, and also he says he gives that example that sometimes a devotee and Lord may be separated, just like cloud separate the sun and the sun rays. but then that's just for time being, and then we know that again they uh, get clouds disappear and the sun and the sun rays are in touch. So similarly, if in the material world we are, because of the forgetfulness of the clouds of forgetfulness, we are away from the Lord. But if we take to the process of devotional service, so these clouds will disappear and again we will be face to face to the Lord. Okay, so at this point I wait, so pause and ask for any questions if they are there. Hare Krishna. So chat. Srila Prabhupada says the good living beings are advised by the Lord to follow his good advice, and by doing so they become successful in all spheres of life. There is no need to worship any deity but the Lord. Many times in times of testing phase in one's life, it becomes tough to see, feel these lines in one's life. So how to realize those words of Srila Prabhupada in my life? Okay, quite relevant question. Yes. Yes, actually, to be able to realize the words that Srila Prabhupada writes in pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, it's very important also that the right frame of mind is developed, to understand those words. Actually, when we hear the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam, those messages of Srimad Bhagavatam can sink in to the degree we hear them with faith, with submission, and with the right process. Sometimes we just, we read the scriptures, we try to hear the message of the scriptures, but we don't put ourselves so much to the process of scriptures by submitting ourselves in the service of the Lord and hearing very submissively from the devotees of the Lord. It's more like a ritual. It's more like an intellectual exercise sometimes, or it's more like a duty, when we read scriptures and all. But when we have the eagerness to understand the message, and when we have the eagerness to get those realizations, actually we will also submit ourselves to, devotees who relish these messages better than us, and try to understand in discussion with them. Satam prasangat mama virya samvido bhavanti rutkarna rasayana katha. The effect of Krishna Katha happens in the most powerful way when we do this in the association of like-minded, sincere devotees. So it's best to read Bhagavatam or hear Bhagavatam in the association of sincere devotees who can actually share us, the appreciation of Srila Prabhupada and appreciation that they have. And in that association, the synergy happens. Even our own consciousness will become more clear, and the words of Srila Prabhupada would deeper sink in. So all the more when difficulties are there in life, like you were mentioning, when we have testing phases in our life. So testing phase means we need to take greater shelter. So we need to take the process of bhakti even more intensely by approaching devotees, and especially devotees whom we have faith in, and trying to seek shelter of Bhagavatam in their association, like that. Because otherwise we are so much smitten by the material circumstances that already our mind has made us quite blunt to Krishna Katha. So then, although there is Prabhupada's words nectar, but that doesn't sink in because we have become blunted by, the only the material vibrations around us. Testing phases means naturally the circumstances have taken a greater toll over our consciousness. So it's very important that we seek shelter of sincere devotees and reveal our heart to them, and in their association try to understand bhakti's dynamics, as Prabhupada is making us to understand. Then tad joshana dasho apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhakti rano kramishati. Bhagavatam says. Then our shraddha will grow, and along with that, bhakti, shraddha, rati is asakti, and bhakti is prema in that context. So that will grow. So that's one of the things that can be done. Many devotees get problems like black magic, spell, etc. sent by some people. So devotees approach black magic, removing people. So how to realize this statement of Srila Prabhupada? There is no need to worship any deity but the Lord. As many spiritual masters suggest to take help so that one can practice devotional service nicely. Please help me to understand, Prabhuji. Okay. So yeah, this is also one thing, that sometimes, unfortunately, some devotees may be feeling difficulty by such things like black magic and all that. So actually, ideally speaking, Srila Gopal Bhatt Goswami speaks about these things, and he comments in his books that a devotee should only take shelter of Lord Krishna and Vishnu Murtis for removing any kind of problems in his life. What to speak of the problems like black magic or like that, but even there are certain material fulfillments that are needed in, especially in Grahasthashram. He talks about Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and he says that there are always Vaishnav vidhis and Vaishnav processes which one should take shelter of, rather than approaching, particular demigods to for such purposes, whether negative or positive, like that. So there are vidhis, actually Vaishnav vidhis, and there are Vishnumurtis like Vishwaksena and Janardana and all that. So only thing is, there is not much knowledge of these things in our sampradaya and institution. So if we have more Vaishnav Brahmins who can understand these vidhis and kind of try to help devotees in such manner. Say, I mean, one thing is, if somebody has full faith in holy name and in Hare Krishna Mahamantra and just decides to stick to Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Krishna's lotus feet in any circumstance, has that full faith. So absolutely such a person would be, protected by Lord in the way, Lord decides that protection. If he has that faith, his faith will be further nourished by the Lord. But if at all somebody wants to also seek these benefits, it's difficult for him to put complete faith in the process of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or it's in addition he wants to also take this other things. So then there are Vaishnava vidhis that we should recommend to such a person, and there are some expert in also in our institution who can guide in such vidhis. Even Narsimha Mahayagya and all that is part of such vidhis only. But even there are more specific vidhis in that, and I think on that matter that help could be sought. Can you please explain how Trivishtapanam refers to demigods? Also, how Kushasthali refers to Dwaraka? Okay, so Trivishtapa, in this Trivishtapa. So Vishta refers to a region. Vishta refers to a realm. So Trivishta literally means three realms. So this refers to Bhur, Bhuva, and Swaha. So Trivishtapa refers to Pati. Trivishtan Pati iti Trivishtapa means those who protect the three realms, those who control the three realms. So those are the demigods. In fact, demigods have the sovereignty over all the three, Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. So this is, of course, apart from the top four planets, which is Jana, Maha, and all Janalok, Maharlok, Tapalok, and all that. So we are talking about Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. So Trivishtapa are those, literally those who are presiding protectors of these three realms. That is Trivishtapa, and that is demigods, Trivishtapana. Also Kushasthali, I just checked, there was a demon named Kusha who stayed at the place where Dwarka was built, I mean that particular island where Dwarka was there long before, although there was an ocean, but that particular place where the Dwarka bait is there, island is there. It's Puranas say that it was resided by one demon called Kusha, and that's how that place came to be known as Kushasthali. So that was one reference that one of my devotee friends shared. So that's all I know about Kushasthali. Where is Lord Balaram during the return of the Lord? As we heard, Balaram returned on last day of Kurukshetra. Okay, Balaram is already back here. Balram is already back here in Dwarka. Now, in fact, in the coming verses, we will see Balramji also comes to welcome the Lord. So, Balramji returned when, Duryodhan was lying, his spine broken, and he was lying there about to die. That's when Balram had, and this is post Kurukshetra, Balram returned to Kurukshetra. And then Balram didn't stay for much time there. He just left and came back to Dwarka. But Lord stayed back for all the reasons that we have seen, all the Ashwamedh Yajnas and also all these episodes of Uttara's protection and all. So that's how Balram is already back at Dwarka. And Lord, when he's reaching to Dwarka, so Balramji is there to welcome him. Okay. The citizens of Dwarka exhibited ardent love towards Lord when he entered the city. They are liberated. The same citizens seem to criticize Lord by alleging him for stealing Shamantak jewel. Could you kindly explain this oxymoron? Okay, so how is that? They exhibited ardent love, also they criticized. So one thing is very clear, Acharyas do explain that not everybody in Dwarka is a pure devotee. Okay, so this Dwarka is manifestation of Dwarka in the material world. So not everyone is a pure devotee in Dwarka. There are pure devotees, there are liberated associates of the Lord, there are demigods and demigoddesses which got appeared in Dwaraka by their special benedictions, special desires to participate in Lord's pastimes. And there are also some other beings who are not so pure souls in Dwarka. So that's how whenever we see that there are some instances where the episode of Shamantak jewel and so much of backbiting that was happening to the Lord, or personalities like Satrajit being so attached to Shamantak and spreading so many rumors and all. So Jeev Goswami does mention that the demigod amshas which are there in the Yadus, because they are not pure devotees. So you can see that kind of behavior also manifested within Dwarkavasis. Although the eternal associate parts of Dwarkavasis, they have that pure devotional aspect, but the aspect of contamination is also manifested by other beings which are not liberated associates of the Lord. So that's the meaning of in fact pastime. When Lord manifests Leela, he also allows some souls who are not completely qualified to participate in that Leela. Otherwise, how is it a merciful incarnation of the Lord? What's that mercy? Why do we say that Lord is merciful by taking an incarnation? He is merciful because he is allowing unqualified souls to get his darshan, to see him, to talk to him, to also in some way participate in his pastimes. That's how you see people like that washerman comes in front of the Lord, and people like Putana, they also have mixed feelings of enmity and all that. They come in front of Lord. So it's like that. You understand? Not everyone is a liberated associate. So that's all. When all time Lord went back to Vrindavan, how long did he stay in each visit? What pastimes did he do? Are some of these details mentioned somewhere? Yes, Prabhu, they are mentioned in Krishna Sandarbha, and they are also mentioned in Gopal Champu. So you should read the Uttara Champu part of Gopal Champu and also Krishna Sandarbha. And I mean, you may write later back to me about those references. But these are the topics of Krishna Sandarbha and Gopal Champu. So this is one thing actually to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a must that we have to know Sandarbhas. Sometimes some less informed people have this idea that we don't have to read Sandarbhas, or we don't have to read commentaries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So, well, my point is, what is understanding Srimad Bhagavatam? If you say you want to understand Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and Bhakti is the process to achieve it, for that you don't even need Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read that in On the Way to Krishna and understand. So why do you need even Bhagavatam for that, right? So when we say understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, we mean understanding in depth as much as possible, as far as our intelligence can go. Yatha mati yatha dhyam. So if you really want to understand Krishna's pastimes, our own acharyas have done a great analysis in books like Krishna Sandarbha. And there are rahasyas, secrets after secrets of pastimes of Krishna mentioned in these books. So if somebody wants to detailed understand Krishna's pastimes, actually our acharyas very much recommend these books. And Prabhupada is the one who embodies that same tradition. So Prabhupada himself recommends reading Sandarbhas in Chaitanya Charitamrita at so many places. You read and open the purport of Siddhant Bolia Chitta na karaha alas iha hoite Krishna lagi sudridmans. Prabhupada compares those who say that we should not read Sandarbhas as impersonalists there. Same way in first canto of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada recommends reading acharyas, previous acharyas and all. So sometimes I see that this idea may be prevalent in our minds that we don't have to read these books to understand Krishna consciousness, but we should define what is that understanding of Krishna consciousness. If we want an in-depth understanding, we do need to refer to these books, especially for those who have nicely read Prabhupada books. Let me put that straight, that if you have not read Prabhupada books, don't try to get into these books because it will just go bouncer. But if somebody has nicely read Prabhupada books, his fundamentals are very clear, then such a person, if he wants to understand further, can read books like Krishna Sandarbha, which is Jiva Goswami's classic to understand Krishna Leela, and also books like, commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam, and some sections of books like Gopal Champu and all that. They are our own Acharya's books, which very much give details of those pastimes. Only thing is, yeah, we should read them under guidance, and when we have nicely read Prabhupada books, we should make sure that we have done it. This prayer, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, is from which scripture? Who wrote it? Okay, Tvameva Mata Pita, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhush. So this is mostly credited to Sripad Shankaracharya, this prayer, So that is one reference I know that it is credited to him. But if it is from some Purana and it is quoted by Sripad Shankaracharya like that, I can find it out. But yeah, but the prevalent idea is it is by Sripad Shankaracharya. They say, I mean, there's a major people, they do say that thing like that. Like Shankaracharya wrote many good glorifications of Supreme Lord. He wrote plenty of Krishna Ashtakams and all that. So he's an authority sometimes. So, but if it's a Puranic verse, sometimes there it's like that. Sarvopnishado Gao, it's also credited to Shankara, and also it's considered a Puranic verse. So if it's like that, maybe I can find out. Why the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam are not chronological? Like here, some activities of Lord are described, then directly in 10th canto. Okay, this is also quite a common question, why they are not chronological. Because chronology is not given much importance in Vedic literatures, especially in Puranas. See, Puranas talk about Lord's pastimes from various universes and various times, and sometimes even various manvantaras. So Puranas don't follow that chronology because they are driven by the themes that are to be conveyed. You know, you talk about a chronology when you want to systematically give account of a narrative, what this person did after this, after this, after this. But actually, that's not how Puranas speak. Puranas speak about the theme, a particular theme, and that's how they speak the pastimes of the Lord. Now, Bhagavad Puran does speak about Krishna's elaborate pastime in 10th canto, but then we see that 10th canto, why it is not chronological, it has its own reasons because of ecstasy of Shukdev, in glorifying 10th canto's pastimes. But in general, Puranas also, they don't maintain the chronology because they are more bothered about the thematic approach. You take a theme. What is the theme? Lord's protection. And Lord's protection will be discussed from all various pastimes that have happened in various manvantaras at various places, different universes. You understand? So, because they put the theme in the foreground and not the systematic one after other events, that is the characteristic of itihasas. Itihasas put the things very much one after another. That's how you see how Mahabharata is. It's an itihasa. Iti ha asa. This is how it happened. Iti iha asa. Like that. So that's how they have that greater sense of chronology. But Puranas, they are more bothered about the theme, and that's why they don't speak about the chronology. Okay. Fine, this is one more question. In the purport 111, 4 to 5 purport, it is mentioned that Lord is Atma Rama, yet he accepts the gifts through devotion, being their well-wisher. In technique, can't one be well-wisher without accepting the gifts? What does being well-wisher to accept their gifts mean? Yeah, being well-wisher in accepting the gifts means actually being a reciprocator. Atma Ramatva, this is a big analysis done by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Atma Ramatva is actually the characteristic of Paramatma. It's the characteristic of Paramatma feature of the Lord. Bhagavan feature doesn't manifest that Atmaram feature actually. Bhagavan feature manifest instead of Atmaram, it manifests the feature of actually, what do you call it? Prema Vashatva. Yeah, Prema Vashatva. Or he is the one who is Stanyakama in case of Krishna. So, this is a big topic in Paramatma Sandarbh, where Paramatma and Bhagavan, these two features are very nicely understood. So, Bhagavan will always be for reciprocation, and Paramatma will be actually self-satisfied, Atma Rama. So, although as Bhagavan, Lord has all the characteristics of Paramatma, it is not that he doesn't have, but his overriding quality is reciprocation, prema vashatva. So he is also Atma Rama. But when you talk about Bhagavan, you don't talk like that. You don't say Bhagavan is Atma Rama. No. So these words have a very specific, precise points. Although in general, you may say, because Bhagavan is what? Bhagavan is actually Paramatma. Paramatma is feature of Bhagavan only. So you may say all the qualities of Bhagavan are there, Paramatma are there in Bhagavan. But when you talk about the word, Jiva Goswami has written two different sandarbhas for this. There is Paramatma Sandarbha and there is Bhagavat Sandarbha. Just to explain what words you should use for Bhagavan and what words you should use for Paramatma. So if you are interested, you will have to know those exactly the things. So Purna Kama Atma Rama is more from the side of Paramatma, while reciprocation is from the side of Bhagavana. And if reciprocation, what does it mean? It means you accept the gift, isn't it? You accept it, you reciprocate. So that's why he accepts the gifts. Accepting gifts is a characteristic of Bhagavana. That's the Bhagavan feature actually. Okay, fine. So those were the questions. And now we move on to the next section, which is a description of Dwarka. 5 verses will describe Dwarka. And there is not much commentary in these verses. Acharyas also have not commented much. So let's see. I mean, we should be able to go fast. This is text 11. Madhu bhoja dasharharha kukurandhaka vrishnibhi atmatulya balair guptam nagair bhogavati miva. As Bhogavati, the capital of Nagaloka, is protected by the Nagas, so was Dwarka protected by the descendants of Vrishni. Bhoja, Madhu, Dasharha, Arha, Kukura, Andhaka, etc., who were as strong as Lord Krishna. So, Lord Krishna entered that Puri, right? It was written, previous verse said, Pravishat Puram. So that Puram or that Purim is described, that Dwarka Puri is described, So Lord entered that Puri, which was protected by Madhu, Bhoja, Dasharha, and then Andhaka, Kukura, Arha, Andhak, Vrishni. So these are all actually various divisions of the Yadus. Okay. So Yadus, within them, they had, Yadu was a big province, and I mean, Yadus were scattered over a big province. And these were all different parts of those provinces. So the exact description of who is Madhu and who is Bhoja is there in Harivamsh. For those of you who are interested, you may refer to Harivamsh, which is part of Mahabharata, appendix of Mahabharata, in which all these things are explained. But point is, Atmatulya Balair Guptam. These Yadus were so powerful that they are called as Atmatulya Balai. Their bala, their strength is compared to as good as Lord's strength actually. Atmatulya. One meaning of Atmatulya is that they can be compared only with themselves. They were so strong. Another meaning is they can be only compared with Supreme Lord. Atmatulya refers to Atma, meaning Supreme Lord. So it was protected by these great souls, Yadus. Just as Nagas protect their abode called Bhogavati, So this Bhogavati is one of the lower planets, if you know. I mean, Prabhupada also says this in purport. This is a Nagaloka. This is a part of the Patala, the lowermost planet, Bhogavati, and that's where Nagas reside. This is the place resided and presided over by Vasuki, the king of the Nagas, and also Shesha, as an ascetic, lives over there, which is described in Brihad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada says that this place is, the sunlight doesn't reach there, right? You know that lower planets, sunlight doesn't reach. So they are illuminated by the jewels that are there on the Nagas' heads. So this is how they are illuminated. Fine. Sarvarto sarva vibhava punyavrakshalatashramaihi udyanopavanāramaihi vrutapatma karashriyam. The city of Dwarkapuri was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water, breeding lotus flowers all over. Yeah. So its description of Dwarka Nagari, how beautiful it was. Sarvartu sarva vibhava. There were punya vrakshalata ashramai. There were very pious trees there. Papa vriksha nahi the, punya vriksha the. There were pious trees on whom all kind of opulences like flowers and everything else grew in all the seasons. And there were such pious trees, and there were creepers like that. There were hermitages. There were beautiful udyanas. Udyanas are actually pushpa pradhanam. Udyana means in which the fruits are prominent. That garden is called udyana, in which the fruits, so you call it as orchard, fruit orchard. right? So that is an Udyana. Upavan is a Pushpa Pradhan garden. When you say Upavan, that means that the garden has actually flowers in the prominence. It's a flower garden, while Udyan is an orchard. And Arama means where it's a pleasure garden and a park where the lawns are prominent. So, you see, I mean, these words have their such a fine sense. Udyana, Upavan, and Arama. These three are different things actually, although all three mean garden or kind of orchard. And also there were very beautiful Jalashayas, Padmakara, the beautiful water bodies in which the lotuses were growing and increasing the beauty of Dwaraka. So Prabhupada says that actually these are the wonderful gifts of nature, and these are the real opulences that we should be attached to. He says that there is no description of Dwarka in which mills and factories supported by slaughterhouses are mentioned. So you don't hear, there were factories and mills and what all else. So he says this is the real standard of opulence actually, utilizing nature's own gifts. In fact, he makes a very remarkable observation. He says, leaders of modern civilization, what do? They make all the labor class work in a factory and stay in, dungeon-like places, in ghettos and in slums, congested areas. But for their own sake, they stay in nice countryside, isn't it? Downtown, they will make the people work, and they will stay in Exarabia, they will stay in outside countryside. So how is this, you see? So everybody knows that actually the real prosperity, the real opulence is in staying in a beautiful scenic place. But then they have made the cities hellish by, whole factories and everything else, and just making it so congested. So Prabhupada says this point very emphatically, that advancement of civilization is estimated not on the growth of mills and factories to deteriorate the finer instincts of human being, but on developing the potent spiritual instincts of human beings and giving them a chance to go back to God. So these factories and all, they make people dull actually. He's saying, staying close to nature, person's finer sentiments would be developed. But these factories and all that, they make such a dull sense in people's minds that they don't understand anything about finer values in their life. So this is how. He also talks about pious trees and impious trees. He says, pious trees produce flowers and fruits, and Papa Vrikshas are only useless jungles. You can only get wood for the fuel from them. But he says the modern people are very fond of, putting such Papa Vrikshas on the sidewalks of the roads. Instead of putting nice flower and fruit trees, you want to put all these showpiece trees which don't produce any fruit or any this thing. Of course, sometimes just to be state of the art, stylish, one may put these trees and all that, thinking that okay, this is the state of the art decoration, whatever. But then point is, they are Papa Vrikshas, they are the real Vrikshas are actually those which have trees, those which have fruits and good flowers like that. So this is how he speaks about. 3 more verses, I'll just finish this description and stop. Gopura Dwarga Margeshu Krita Kautuka Toranam Chitra Dhwaja Patagagrai Antah Prati Hata Tapam. The city gateway, the household doors, and festooned arches along the roads were all nicely decorated with festive signs like plantain trees and mango leaves, all to welcome the Lord. Flags, garlands, and painted signs and slogans all combined to shade the sunshine. See what wonderful arrangements they have made to welcome the Lord. These are the lessons for guest reception or Lord's festivals, receiving the Lord in festivals. So these are wonderful points that one can learn how to receive the Lord or great devotees of the Lord. So on the gopuras are the main arches to the city, and dwaras are the arches to the individual houses or palaces. That's the difference between gopur and dwara. So there were wonderful festoons, that were hanging on the gopuras and dwaras, uh, made up of beautiful uh, mango leaves and also other festoons and flags, Chitra Dhwaja Pataka Agrai. So many flags and festoons, patakas were there that literally there was uh, no question of sun causing any heat inside the Dwarka Nagari. It was nicely shaded by this all these festoons and dhwaja and patakas and all that. So Prabhupada again speaks about uh, natural, wonderful decorations like plantain trees, mango trees, fruits and flowers. Very nice, auspicious items, and which are also used in decoration. We see that even when we decorate the Lord with these wonderful flowers and fruits, like here in Vrindavan, I see that Radha Sham Sundar's decoration happens so much by the natural fruits, flowers, and like that, and many other places also. But all the more, in Vrindavan is so much with natural fruits, flowers, and all. It's just flooded, all over, and it looks so beautiful and so opulent, also in this manner. Flags also had pictures of Hanuman and devotees like Garuda and Hanuman, so pleasing the Lord by glorifying his devotees. Fine. Sammarjita Mahamarga Rathyapanaka Chatvaram Siktam Gandhajalay Ruptam Phalapushpakshatam Kuraihi. The highways, subways, lanes, markets, and public meetings places were all thoroughly cleansed and then moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere. So all the roads, highways and subways, Mahamarga and Rathya. Mahamarga is the highway, Rathya is the subway. Apanak are the marketplaces, Chatvaras are the Anganas, Angan. हम कहते हैं Angan means the courtyards, or how does proper translate? Proper translates as public meeting places. Yes. So all these were very nicely washed and uh, scented with rose and kevda. Prabhupada says that in purport, kevra. So kevda is very famous for the scent. So they were washed with waters of kevra and also rose. And then that is Siktam Gandha Jale. And also strewn everywhere were akshat, unbroken grains, fruits, flowers to welcome the Lord. So it was very beautiful like that. Dwari Dwari Grahanancha Dadhyakshata Falekshubhi Alankatam Purna Kumbhai Balibhir Dhupa Deepakaihi. In each and every door of the residential houses, auspicious things like curd, unbroken fruits, sugarcane, and full water pots with articles for worship, incense, and candles were all displayed. So on the doors of at the doors of the houses, there was nice curd, akshat, flowers, and Purna Kumbhas, full water pots were there, and to welcome the Lord, there was dhupa, deepa, and all other paraphernalia for worship. So Prabhupada says that the foodstuffs were there, remnants of foodstuffs were offered in welcoming the Lord, and the remnants were offered to all the residents. So there was plenty of prasad being distributed. So he says that no function can get completed without distribution of food. That's the last line he writes. So function means there has to be prasad. There has to be some amount of food distribution, and that's the way of Vedic culture, he says. So he's giving nice instructions for us to do a festival celebration or reception. So after this, how the Lord's near and dear ones like Vasudev and Balramji and all of them, how they welcomed the Lord will be spoken. So we will see this tomorrow. But the remaining verses are like this only, in which there is not much description. So I think we should be able to move very fast in the next session, and yeah, should be able to finish it like that. So fine, Prabhu, I would like to stop here. And if there are any questions, you may stay back, or you can move on for your services. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Who was Vrishni? Okay, so this is all part of this is all okay. One second. I just want to announce about next week. We have a session on Monday, starting from Monday. So we have the sessions as at the same time will continue. Okay, so we will meet at the same time starting from Monday. Should be able to hopefully finish by Thursday, like that. So who was Vrishni? So actually in Harivamsh it's mentioned as uh, it's actually a dynasty. It's actually a region. You know, that's the explanation of Harivamsh. You know, so these Andhakas or Dasharha or Bhoja. So some of them are names of the kings, and some of them are the names of the regions. Like Shura Sena is a king as well as a region, while some of them are also personalities and some of them are regions. So one reference I remember is about Vrishni was a region's name. Uh, I just have to check whether Vrishni is also a personality, because Krishna is known as Varshneya. So, but that is referring to the Yadukul, the part of Yadukul, just as he is known as also other names like Madhava or Shauri and all that. So maybe I can take a look, or I can suggest you that Harivamsh section you can only go through. Yeah, descendants of Vrishni is mentioned. Yeah, so I can check, Prabhu, no problem. I'll find this out. Okay, any other question? Fine, I think we are done with it, done with the questions. Okay, Prabhu, so I will stop here. Fine, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.